Today we have all panelists, and these are all international students that are presently studying abroad, some working as well. So they have passed through the process. They're going to talk to you. They're going to put you through. And we have three of our panelists with us right now, and one more will join us as we go on. So I'm going to call on them to introduce themselves to you so you get to know them, familiarize yourself with them before we move ahead. So starting up, I would call on Sandra to please introduce herself to us. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Sandra Chrapah. I'm originally from Ghana. Currently, I'm doing my PhD in Health Services Administration with an emphasis in health services research. And let's see. So for my undergrad, I studied health science, and for my master's, I studied health management, and then hence my PhD. A few hobbies. I like cooking, but if I'm not doing research or analyzing data, I'm probably playing loud music and dancing. So I enjoy doing that. And that's a little bit about me. Thank you.
Okay, nice one, Sandra. Welcome. And we are going to go on to Philippe. Philippe, please.
Hi, y'all. My name is Philippe. I just graduated with my bachelor's in mechanical engineering, and I'll be continuing with a master's in public policy management and a concentration in environmental systems. So that's what's happening to me. My apologies for the muffled voice at the moment. I had a surgery not too long ago. In my free time, if there ever is free time, I go on runs every once in a while, so I try to be active a little bit, and I read. That's pretty much it.
Okay, nice one, Philippe. Hope you get well very soon. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for availing yourself to us. And as you can hear from our panelists, they are from different areas. So no matter what you intend to study abroad, we have people on ground that can actually put you through. And if Shayo is with us, we would love for her to introduce herself. Shayo, if you're around.
Sure.
Please.
Yeah, hi, my name is Shayo. I'm from Lagos, Nigeria. I got my undergrad, or I attended undergrad at Missouri State University, where I was a double major in political science and psychology. Currently, I go to William & Mary Law School, so I'm currently in law school, and I'm working as a summer associate at a law firm this summer. Hobbies, I like to work out. I do CrossFit, and I really, really love sitting at home and watching TV because I get so exhausted that every time I get home, like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to talk to anyone. So, yeah.
Wow. All right, Shayo. Thank you for coming. Good to meet with you. And that's your hobby. Interesting. So we are going to go straight into our discussions. And I would ask the question and they will answer us. So far, I'm going to start this section with Philippe. Why did you choose to study abroad? I would come over to the rest of you, but starting with Philippe, why did you study abroad?
Sure, I should have probably mentioned I'm from Germany. So I was a high school exchange student, and I loved it so much that I wanted to go to college in America. So I went to community college first. Through that, I met IGO, and I had the most wonderful time during my high school time, and that really shaped me wanting to study in America. Beyond just that one exchange year, and then making incredible friends and making really, really good connections during my time in community college. really emphasized that that was the right choice for me as well. And studying in America was something that's not only reserved for people going straight into their 4-year program, but that community college is a fantastic choice for you to get started in America and then to take on the next steps.
Thank you, Philippe. As you've heard, Philippe is from Germany and he studied in America. So no matter where you're from, yearning for more experiences can never be wrong. And I'm going to go to Shayo. Why did you choose to study abroad?
Well, I'm just gonna echo what Philip said, and honestly, to be honest, like, you know, my parents wanted me to study in America, right? If you're being completely honest, but I would say that it's a place where there are just numerous opportunities, you know, and I think you can find a place to fit in, and no matter what you want to do, what you want to study. And I think also it's really different from sort of the education system back home, where like you sort of have to be in like a certain line or a certain track when you get to like, you know, 10th grade, like science, arts, like, or like the commercial class, and then the major you choose in undergrad sort of like affects, you know, what you did in high school. Here, like, it really doesn't matter. You can do anything. You can change your major a million times, you know, just when you figure it out, you figure it out. So yeah, so it's really different in that way, that you're not bound by the choices you made in high school when you were, I don't know, 13, 15 years old, and, you know, you get a fresh start, multiple opportunities here. So yeah.
Okay, thank you, Shayo. We've heard from Shayo multiple opportunities, and starting with typical parental pressure and yearning for their children to be better than they are. So some of you might also be in the same category with Shayo. And of course, from her expression, she's not saying that it was a bad decision at all. So yeah, so we are going to go over to Sandra. So Sandra, why did you choose to study abroad?
So I think my answer is similar to Philippe's answer. I was an exchange student as well. I did my senior year of high school in the US, and then being in the educational system, I just really loved the support system that I had, especially when I applied to, so I went to University of Missouri for my master's and my undergrad and my master's. And when I applied to all the schools, I just appreciated how the university was patient with me getting all my documents and applying for admission. So I think that, and coupled with, you know, what I want to do, I do want to work for the well-being of maternal and child, for maternal and child population. So I figured that it will be great training for me. I saw it as training, not necessarily like school. I just wanted to get trained to make sure that I'm able to give my best to the population that I intend on serving. So that was what influenced it.
Okay, thank you, Sandra. Like she said, it was an opportunity for her. So a grant for better training, more opportunities, just like Philippe has said as well. And on that note, we are going to go to the next question. So what are the expectations of international students, and what opportunities do prospective students have coming abroad? Are there opportunities? What should they expect? I will start with Philippe, please.
Sure. I think that there are like various expectations, often depending on where you're from. But with that also comes a great deal of opportunity to share both your background and your story with other people, and being able to like not only learn from your place where you're going to be then, but also like teach them about where you're from. Additionally, when it comes to opportunities, I think it can often be very easy to fall into routine or just kind of hope for people to approach you. But I think what's really important is to seek out opportunities, whether it's through really direct conversations with your professors or your peers about identifying things that interest you, that line up with something you're passionate about, and then something that like you really care about, or something that makes you feel good. And if in the rare opportunity that you can't find anything, there's always the opportunity for you to create your own space to really explore what you're passionate about, and then also explore how you want to change the world and what you want to do. So I think when it comes to expectations, in new school, studying abroad gives you the opportunity to almost reinvent yourself. And with that comes like a plethora of opportunity to identify opportunities that kind of propel you forward into a way where you can be successful.
Awesome. Thank you, Philip. Like you have said, it's an opportunity for you to reinvent yourself. It gives you opportunity to make a change, to meet with people, to achieve your goals. So that is something that can propel you to want to study abroad. And I'm going to go over to Sandra. Sandra, what are the opportunities, the expectations for prospective students?
So I think one thing that I always emphasize is the fact that you should not expect yourself to figure everything out immediately you get in the country. It takes time. It gets better. It will get better if you put in the work. And like Philippe said, you have to seek out opportunities. They are available. Well, there are some limitations in terms of funding or grants that you can apply for as an international student. However, when you look, there are opportunities out there. I think everyone on this panel has experienced something similar to that. But in my case, I had a full scholarship from Ghana. So I may not be the best support system in terms of directing you to funding for your undergrad, but for your master's or your PhD, I have like experience in, how to get funding for your education. And some expectations, I guess, I don't have any experience with in being like going to college in Ghana. So I don't know what the majors are like, but as a career specialist, when I was an undergrad, we had a lot of majors available to students, and you wouldn't even know that those majors are available to you. So it gives you an opportunity to explore what you need, and our classes, depending on who your advisor is, your classes will be structured in a way to have you explore what you like and what you don't like. So your classes are a great resource to you to determine where you fit in, to determine what your true passion are, because that's how I found mine too. So that's like that's something that you can expect to happen.
Okay, thank you so much, Sandra. So she has told us of how you can find your passion through guidance from courses you take that actually propel you in the right direction. So that is awesome. For some people that might be confused, you really don't know why you are doing this. It's always safer to follow something you're passionate about, because then you never give up no matter the obstacles you face on the way. So that's something you can get from exploring institutions abroad. So please, can Shayo come next for us? Just go with the same question.
Sure. I'm going to try not to be redundant and repeat everything that's already been said. So I guess like one thing that you should expect, especially if you're an ethnic minority, it's like Sandra said, it's not going to be easy. Honestly, no matter where you are, you're probably going to find yourself in a place where, you're going from being a majority to a minority. And so that transition, nothing really prepares you for that. And so, you eventually figure it out. I think a lot of us Africans just will have a similar story. You know, you get here and you realize, oh wow, like, you know, I guess I'm like the only Black person in my classes, or, you know, this and that. And, you know, eventually, right, hopefully you have the opportunity to teach others about your culture, or just, you know, put yourself out there so people can learn more about you. And just, you know, as an international student, you should just expect to also, how do I put it? Just, you always have to be on alert, just sort of on guard, you know, immigration policies, you just making sure, you know, your documents are up to par. And I guess I'm just like giving a different side, a more technical side than what, you know, they've already said, because everything else they said is just as important, but, you know, your expectations are a bit different. You know, classes, your grades, you know, as an international student, you probably don't have like the same sort of luxury that, you know, domestic students might have, you know, in terms of liberties you can take with your grades and things like that. But it's like I said, opportunities are, you know, like everywhere, honestly. And I think one thing or a mistake that I see a lot of international students make is just like assuming that an opportunity is only for like Americans, right? Or like, oh, I think this is just going to be for Americans, so I'm not going to bother. But really, I mean, to be fair, there are a couple of opportunities, scholarships, grants that are only for Americans, but there's just as many that you qualify for. There's just as many that you can take advantage of. So just never like, you know, write something off. I think it's fair to say Igho and maybe Philippe, I think we were all members of Phi Theta Kappa. I don't know about you guys. So I did that in community college, and of course they gave me a good amount of scholarship when I went to Missouri State. And well, it didn't matter that I was national law. So, you know, just making sure like you know, learn about, or, you know, to learn to the full extent what the opportunities are, instead of just, you know, writing it off as, oh, it's probably just going to be for Americans, because there are just as many opportunities out there for international students. And maybe I bet it's only a smaller percentage that are actually like strictly for or Americans, or like non-citizens and things like that. And it's like they said, you know, like opportunities for like different majors in a lot of schools. If they don't have the major you want, hell, you can create your own thing, right? You know, seek out your professors, seek out help. You know, the tutoring centers, the counseling center, they're all there to help you. Mental health, physical health, everything else, and just all the resources are there. So yeah, that's really all I have to add.
Oh, thank you so much, Ayo. Thank you for pointing out some cons as well as the pros they've been pointing out, because it's really, really important. So when you think it's all just a smooth ride, there are some other parts that you have to take note of. People don't get to tell you this, but they are as important as the other parts. So you know it's important for cultural exchange. It is important to know that it really is not easy when you get there to actually go with the flow. It's not where you're coming from. It's not what you're used to. So you have to be open to meet with surprises. But then again, that is why I go with IGO is here. And because we are always on ground to help you have a smooth ride, we connect you with people that are already in these institutions from your countries, your different countries. So even when you think there's somebody that's about to hold your hand when you want to fall, when you connect with I Go with Ego. So thank you so much. Thank you, all our panelists. We're going to go into something that I know a lot of people want to hear about, and that's the scholarship opportunities. Yes, everybody wants one. So how did you have you been able to access scholarship? Did you get scholarship opportunities before you came into your various countries, if it's America, the UK, where you are? Were you open to getting opportunities from your home country before going abroad, or if you got opportunities when you were there? So we just want you to help us to put us through on scholarship opportunities How can prospective students access them? Should they start from home or when they get there, or both? Please put us through. I would love to start with Sandra this time. Sandra, thank you.
Okay, so I came as a high school student, like I said before. So I had intentions of, going to college here. So my dad and we put together, I had it in mind, so which means my grades were going to be very important. There was no way I could slack on my grades. I needed to make sure, because it is competitive, especially with getting a scholarship from back home, because that's where I got funded. I got my funding from Get Fund in Ghana, and it is competitive. And that scholarship, they only offer to master's students and PhD students. So it means that I had to bring something different to the table. So extracurricular activities, articulating my goals for myself and then for my country as well. It was very, very important to emphasize that. And I think Philippe and Shia will talk more about that. I'm not quite sure about the scholarships available for undergraduate students in the US, especially for a four-year college. I'm not so sure about a lot of scholarships there, but for master's and PhD students, the best thing to do is to reach out to professors who have interest or who share the same interest as you. You can reach out to them and ask, what projects they're working on and if they're willing to fund PhD students or master students. There are more funding available for PhD students compared to master students. So I think one thing that helped me was the fact that in my master's, I did it in the same school as my undergrad. So I knew a few professors, I knew, the department head. So I was able to reach out to them directly. And in the end, my funding was not even from necessarily an academia position. It was a career specialist position where I had to teach undergrads, provide them with resources that they need to decide a major. So some of my students were undecided. Some of them had majors, but they were not quite sure that's what they wanted to commit to. So that's what helped me, knowing the professors, reaching out to them. And like I said, your classes are really like an opportunity for you to network with your professors. Make sure that you're keeping a good relationship with your professors. You're not going to get along with every professor, but with whatever you want to be passionate, you want to do. I wanted to be in healthcare. So which means that the classes that were related to healthcare, I needed to build a relationship with my professors. And it will help with your letter of recommendation when you're applying for your master's or your PhD. So in terms of that, it's mostly about networking to get funding for your master's and your PhD. And then there are some of the websites when you're applying, they will let you know that they have availability for funding, though it's competitive, which means you have to go above and beyond what they're looking for to be able to secure funding for yourself. So that's my experience, networking with professors, and then, you send them information, you share your passion with them, and your willingness to work with them as well. Professors like that. They like to know that you're interested in their work. So you have to, follow, make sure that indeed where you're going, you're interested in, and not just any opportunity out there. It has to be tailored to what you're passionate about, in my opinion. That's what I think. So that was my experience, networking with professors, and then I got my funding through that, coupled with my grades and then every other extracurricular activity that I needed to do. So that was my experience.
Okay, thank you, Sandra. Like you've heard from her, and she has repeated it over again, networking with her professors and her grades. So nobody's going to give you scholarship on just anything. You have to work for this opportunity, and that's what she said. And I'm going to go to Philippe, please. The opportunities for intending students, maybe before they come or when they're there already. Please put us through.
Sure. Obviously, every country has their own kind of opportunities or funding opportunities for students leaving the country to study in America or elsewhere. So those are things that you want to research on governmental websites. I personally didn't receive funding from my home country. And my very first semester in America was paid for by my savings. Beyond that, what I would always recommend international students do is find a job on campus. Not only does that create some sort of income already, but it connects you with people that can possibly help you identify opportunities that you may not be aware of. That's how I did it. And then through that, I was pointed towards scholarships that I could apply to. And with those, I was able to fund my undergraduate studies. Additionally, if you are attending community college, Phi Theta Kappa is an opportunity for you to network with students across the country, receive scholarship help, and also apply for national scholarships that can really help you go to the next step, meaning either for your institutions or beyond that for a master's or PhD. There are, as mentioned before, there are plenty of scholarship opportunities. However, they're sometimes hidden, and you have to like scour the internet, find other international students and talk to them and see where they have applied to before. And really just kind of work for just a bit harder than sometimes national or American students have to, because they usually don't have to worry about eligibility. So you really need to take some time and really invest in identifying scholarships. That coupled with extracurricular activities, good grades, and a passion is always a good start for not only applying them, but then also being awarded scholarships. So take advantage of your opportunities on campus, mentors, and other international students to identify those.
Thank you, Philippe. Like he has said, take advantage of the people around you, of mentors. You could actually get work. There are opportunities for you to work to actually see yourself through as well. Okay, he talked about Phi Theta Kappa, an organization that has helped him with scholarship through school. So these are things. Then above all, he talked about using the internet. Nobody just comes to place scholarship opportunities in front of you. You have to search for these things. However, the internet has made it easy for a lot of us. So if you want them, go to the internet, search for these opportunities. But the good part of it all is that they are available. They are there. So I'll go to Shayo. Shayo, please.
So just heads up, my answer might be a little longer because, you know, I've had a lot of experience with this. So my phone keeps listening to me. Sorry about that. Well, so first off, like they've said, you want to use the internet, and part of the internet includes actually going to your school's website because, you know, apart from like getting a scholarship through your school itself, I mean, usually your schools will have a link to external scholarships or external fundings that are available, and you just have to look through those and see which ones you qualify for and apply to that. Some, you know, academic honor societies also give scholarships. Phi Theta Kappa, for example, I got a scholarship through Phi Theta Kappa to go to Missouri State. I'm pretty sure, I think IGO did too, and I know a couple of people who got funding through Phi Theta Kappa to go to undergrad or like to go to like a four-year college. So I probably want to take advantage of that. I know it does come with certain GPA requirements and whatnot. I don't remember, it's been a hot minute now, but I know it came with GPA requirements. So hence like you having to keep good grades. And just, you know, with undergrad in general, because I'm going to try to talk about grad school too. I think, you know, the school's website, honor societies. Also, if you've been at a school sometimes for, I think 2 years, then you qualify for like an in-state tuition scholarship that, you know, I don't know that all schools do this, but I think a lot of schools actually do that. After 2 years, you stop paying the international student rate and then you pay like an in-state student rate. I know Missouri State did that for me. So I paid the international student rate for, well, I guess I never paid the international student rate, because by the time I got to Missouri State, they just automatically applied an in-state tuition scholarship to my tuition. So, sometimes you probably want to consider just staying in the same state, even if you're like transferring schools, because then the length of time you've been there can affect the rates at which you'd be paying. And let me just tell you, sometimes there's a substantial difference between out of state and in-state tuition. Sometimes it's like half. In-state tuition, depending on where you are, could be half the cost, or half the rate of, out of state or international student rate. Yeah, but as far as undergrad, I think just school's website, external scholarships, using the internet and those things. Now, in terms of graduate school, graduate assistantships are a big thing. So usually if you're applying for your master's or things like that, usually your offer will come with some sort of graduate assistantship position, which means that you get a stipend. Sometimes it could be like a full tuition, or like a percentage of your tuition will be sliced off. You get a stipend, and then you get to like work with a professor. But it's like Sandra said, sometimes just try to like have a connection or reach out to a professor there, share your interests or whatever. It could go a long way sometimes. And so, but getting a graduate assistantship also means like having good GRE scores, good work experience and things like that. So, they're not just going to slap a graduate assistantship at anyone, so I think for the most part, if you're applying to a master's, aim to get a graduate assistantship, because that like really makes your life easier. Well, like I said, your test scores, your GPA, your work experience, those things will really matter. Now, I'm in law school. Law school is a little different. You automatically qualify for what is called a merit scholarship for law school. So every time you turn in a law school application, they look at your GPA, your grades and everything, and then see if you deserve a merit scholarship, right? And so usually your law school admission will come with a merit scholarship. They will give you like your admission and be like, oh, in addition to your admission, we're offering you $30,000 a year, right? But it's a merit scholarship, which means the higher your grades, the higher your test scores, the more extracurricular activities you did, the better positioned you are to get a merit scholarship. And like, this is so easy. Like, there's literally nothing else you have to do. You don't have to apply to a merit scholarship. It literally comes with your admission. So for me, I go to a top law school at full tuition. I don't pay tuition, and like tuition and cost of living is like 80 something grand a year. I don't got that kind of money. So, you just, but that also means like keeping a near perfect GPA, like high LSAT scores and things like that. So, if you're looking at law school, then that's a whole different route. For law school, it's a bit like, easier in the sense that you don't have to do extra applications, but also a bit harder in the sense that, your merits really determine how much you get and what schools you're going to get funding from. In addition to that, I live in the dorms, or at least the graduate student apartments, and I'm a resident assistant. So you can also apply to be a resident assistant. And when you're a resident assistant, you get room and board for free. So, in addition to not paying tuition, I'm also a resident assistant, so I don't have to pay for room and board, and you also get a stipend, right? So you have to like research resident assistantship positions in your school if you're staying in the dorms. That was my goal. My goal of staying in the dorms was so that I would qualify to be a resident assistant, but usually those positions will require you to have lived on campus for at least 1 year, right? So you can't, you usually can apply to it like straight up. You have to live in the dorms for a year, and then you're eligible to apply to a resident assistantship position. And so that's definitely something that's worth looking into. For me, it's like, I didn't care that I was living, and they're not like dorms, especially like if you're in graduate school. And but I don't know that all schools have like a graduate student housing. So that might also be a factor. And in addition to, well, with self-funding, in addition to working on campus, as a graduate student, obviously, like if you're in your master's, MBA, law school, depending on what graduate position it is, you want to aim to get an internship. And, if you get an internship, usually, or say you get an internship at Amazon, Google, or whatever, one of the big firms, whatever money you make in your summer can usually go a long way in helping you cover the cost of living for the next year. So that's also something you want to look into, paid internships, especially as a graduate student. There are lots of like paid internship opportunities. Now, undergrad might be slightly different. I don't know, they want free labor, but yeah, paid internships will also, just go a long way. And lastly, a lot of firms also will offer a scholarship that comes with a job offer. Well, I'm speaking solely for law firms, in addition to the job offer, sometimes, especially if you're a minority and you've got really good grades, you're really impressive, they give you like an additional, like, I don't know, $24,000 for the summer, just because they're impressed or whatever. So that also, goes a long way. Private firms also offer scholarships in addition to like their internship salaries. So yeah, I think off the top of my head, that's all I can think of. That was a very long answer, sorry.
Oh, yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Shayo. It's like Shayo has a long list of different ways you could actually cut costs or practically go for free. And that's nice. That's what we want to hear about. Thank you so much. I know people are excited, from merit scholarships to graduate assistantship to institution, a whole long list. Thank you so much. Thank you. We really appreciate that. So you see, we give you substance with I Go With Ego. There are a lot of ways to make your stay easy, to help you through, not looking at the cost. There are different ways for you to cut costs and actually get quality education. And that is what we're about. So rounding up, going to our last question. Yeah, feel free to reach to Shayo if you need help. Okay, feel free to go to Shayo, to go to I Go With Ego. We are here for you. So now our last question. How do international students transition into the workforce if they want to enter into the workforce? Is it possible? Are there opportunities, or you cannot transition into the workforce? So just help us through that, Sandra, please. I'll start with you.
Okay, so I've been in school the entire time, but over the summer, I've had a few internships off campus. And of course, I have a lot of friends who have transitioned into the workforce. I know one thing that helps is when you're in the STEM program. That helps a lot. But if you're not in the STEM program, there are still opportunities. You just have to, be competitive, because they're going to, when you're applying, they're going to be deciding between you and an American. So why would they choose you? That's the big question. Why should they choose you? Why shouldn't they choose an American versus you? So it's important, every step of the way, you have to give your very best. If you want the best, you can't slack. Unfortunately, you can't slack. So to transition, there's something called the H-1B job, the visa for working off campus or working or transitioning into the workforce. And maybe Shayo would have more information in terms of the legal part of H-1B, but that's usually one of the first steps that people take. But before that, actually, when you're doing your internship, there's also, you have the OPT and the CPT. So the CPT, it's like, a CPT is something you do when you're in between, maybe over the summer, and I think you can do it in the school year as well, but that you can do more than a year of CPT. And that is like a temporal employment eligibility for off-campus jobs. And then after school, you're eligible for a year of OPT. So OPT is, giving you the opportunity after your education to work outside of campus. And then through your OPT, you can communicate with your employer and then tell them what your goals are and see if there's a possibility that they would employ you. It's why you take advantage of, like Shaya talked about, you take advantage of the internship. You have to build your network. It's very important. You can't get anywhere without your network. You'll be surprised that most people get their positions or their jobs because someone recommended them or someone knew about them. So sometimes it's difficult when people don't know you. Would I employ somebody I know that can do a good job, or just a stranger whose qualification I see on paper? It's very important that you build these networks, especially in your internships, your volunteer activities. That would open some doors for employers to see your hard work and then the willingness to file for you. So first, your first option can be the CPT, which you can do during the summer or during the school year, but it can be 1 year. And then your next opportunity is the OPT. The OPT you can do off campus for a year, and then you can renew it for, I think, 2 more years when you're in the STEM program. You can do that for an additional 2 years. Then you have the H-1B, which is the working visa. If your employer wants to employ you, they want to keep you, they have to go through an entire process of advertising the job. And if they don't find somebody, then they can say that we didn't find anyone, any domestic applicants, so we want to go with the international applicants. And then the next step is that your company can indeed file for permanent residency for you, so you're able to work off campus. So those are like the steps that I'm familiar with. You have the CPT, the OPT, the H-1B working visa, and then the possibility of your employer filing for a green card for you, so you can be eligible to work off campus. And that's the information I have about transitioning into the workforce.
Thank you very much, Sandra. I'm sure you all have heard what she said. So there are steps, there are processes, but it is possible to actually transition into the workforce. So thank you, Philip. If you have anything to add to what Sandra has said, we would appreciate that.
Yeah, sure. I think Sandra did a really great job of outlining what has to be done. An important caveat when it comes to both CPT and OPT, make sure you talk to your international student office about the procedures, because following procedures is really important when it comes to these steps. Beyond that, I think Sandra covered a lot of really good information. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Philip. And I'm going to go to Shaya. And yes, Sandra called you out for a technical law issue. So if you'd put us
well,
through
just
that.
another caveat to the CPT. I mean, you can work 20 hours a week for as long as you want while you're in school. But as far as like, well, the CPT kind of lets you intern in the summer also, so you can work up to 40 hours a week full time, but you can't accumulate more than 12 months, or you probably don't want to accumulate more than 12 months of full-time work before you graduate, because then that can affect your eligibility for OPT. So that's also like an important caveat. CPT lets you work while you're still in school. OPT lets you work while you're done with school. And honestly, that's probably your best shot at transitioning. But you know, I find that with graduate students, especially if you're like an MBA, or for me with law school, so usually your employers hire you, or when they're interviewing you, they know what your status is. And if you're and I'm speaking solely mostly like if you're applying to like big private law firms or big private companies, they usually hire you with the intent of filing your H-1B visa for you, and then, you know, hopefully your permanent residence. But, you know, before they can file that H-1B, obviously there's that gap where there's submitting the application, and that's when you're on your OPT. So I think for the most part, you probably have to be on OPT for, you know, the 1 year or an additional 2 years if you're STEM. And during your OPT period, your employers can then, you know, start, you know, putting in the paperwork to file for you. You can get an H-1B visa, but you can't be an H-1B for more than 6 years. So usually, I mean, if you're going on 6 years, then your company is probably willing to file for a green card by then. But most of these companies, Amazon, Google, I mean, a lot of them actually sometimes will bypass the H-1B process and just file for your permanent residence directly. And sort of the same thing with a lot of bigger law firms too. So I think, yeah, definitely your best shot is OPT, and then while you're on OPT, getting your H-1B visa or getting your permanent resident visa through the company you're working for. But just a caveat, the bigger the company, the more resources they have, or the more willing they are to file for your permanent resident. So if you're at a smaller company, they're probably just going to be like, oh, we don't have the resources for that. Yeah, but the bigger the company, then like the less of a problem it is that you're international. Honestly, they don't really care. Usually, you know, it comes down to who is the most competent and who has the most experience, you know, especially with Google, Amazon, bigger law firms. I think they care more about like experience and competence, and, you know, they usually have the resources to file for your permanent resident. So, I mean, your best bet is to get a job.
Nice one. Thank you, Shaya. Thank you so much. Now we're going to go straight to the question and answer section. If you have any question for the panelists, please do well to drop it in the chat box and they would attend to it. If you have any question for igowithIGHO as an organization, you could send it to us through our WhatsApp number. We are dropping the WhatsApp number in the chat box. And also you can contact us through our social media handles, as well as go to our website, www.igowithIGHO.com. And we have all that in the chat box. So I saw a question, and that's our WhatsApp number already. Someone said, is there a defined emailing format to use in reaching out to professors when applying for graduate studies? So I don't know who's going to help us with that.
Yeah,
Anyone
I think
can
actually
help us?
that was my question. After I answered reaching out to professors when I saw that question. So I figured it's probably a follow-up question to what I had just talked about. So when you're reaching out to professors, if your program is like not law school or med school, or, you know, all those programs, like if you're doing a STEM program, statistics, math, health services research, whatever it is, you actually have to prove to the professor that you've read their work and you love their work, and you can point out things that you feel like you can learn working with them. It's very important. Professors like to know that they love to talk about their work. They really do. So if you're going to approach them, make sure that you know exactly what you're talking about. Read some of their articles and articulate, you know, the important part of the article that, you know, resonated with you and what you think you can learn ultimately working with them. So they get a lot of these emails, a lot. They get a lot of the emails about students reaching out to them. So you have to do your homework when you're reaching out to them, and then you can stand out as well. And in some of the positions, there are usually like recommendations as well. So everyone in the department or whatever it is, even if you're off campus or you're an international student, if you reach out to a professor and you present yourself like, you know, you're ready to learn and you're passionate about what you're doing, a professor can say, maybe I may not be the best person for you, but I'm going to connect you with someone else. They're going to do that, you know, if you do your homework. So it's important There's no like necessarily a defined format for it, but just make sure that indeed you read some of their articles, and it's not just what they put on their website. You have to pursue, you know, especially on the website, they're going to talk about what they're currently working on, and you want to pursue those articles. You want to pursue those projects that they're working on, and just, you know, express your interests and how your goals align with their goals as well. I think that helps a lot. But in terms of an email, there isn't. However, like igowithIGHO has, you know, IGHO has a lot of resources. If you have an email you want someone to look over, you can reach out to IGHO, you can reach out, and then he can reach out to, you know, any of us who have similar or who are in the field that you're trying to get into. And we can help you read through your emails and your personal statements, all the information that you need for your application is very important, but there's no defined email. All you need to do is make sure that indeed you read their work, and it's not just about something you found on the internet or a generic email. You have to make it personal to them. It's very important. So that's what I'd say.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sandra. You've heard from her. You don't just go to professors without knowing what they do. Of course, it doesn't sound proper. It's not nice. So that is something that if you do, take your time to actually study what they've done, their work, so that you would even have opportunity to interact properly with them. And it's going to be a great help to you. So thank you so much, our wonderful panelists. Thank you for our attendees. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your effort. And courtesy, I go with IGHO. For those of you that are interested and have participated with us, for the first, there's a limited line of persons. So we're going to like give you free, we're going to cover the cost of your application fee. Your application fee, if you're interested in studying abroad, if you're genuinely interested. If you're not interested, no problem. And just reach out to Ross on www.igowithIGHO.com. Follow our social media handles. It is I Go With IGHO. So when you reach out to us, we are going to put you through. We are going to put you through. It is awesome. You see that we have people that are experienced these things. They're actually students abroad. They've actually transitioned. Some have transitioned into the workforce. So we are talking to you with people that have experiences. We are not just coming to blah, 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 or maybe some people that want to just take your hard-earned money and leave you dry. No, we want to help you, want to broaden your horizon. It is important that you are traveled. Somebody said if you have not traveled, you've not lived life. So it is important for you to experience other cultures. So thank you so much for being with us today. We appreciate you. Our panelists, we love you. We love you. We love you. Thank you so much. And with that, we come to an end of our webinar. Thank you.